Besides the results of index heavyweights such as Reliance Industries, Infosys, Kotak Mahindra Bank and ICICI Bank that will impact market sentiment on Monday, all eyes will be on the outcome of the 2-day long meeting of the US Federal Reserve that will end on July 27. Analysts expect the US Central Bank to get aggressive in its endeavor to tame the galloping inflation that hit 9.1% in June, the highest reading since 1981. Most analysts expect a hike between 75 to 100 basis points by the US Central Bank on Wednesday. Christopher Woods of Jefferies, for instance, believes the announcement of the June CPI data point will likely lead to the Fed announcing another 75 basis point rate hike on July 27. Philip Mary of Rabobank International, on the other hand, says it would now be a shock if the Fed did not hike rates by 100 basis points in July. Earlier in June, the US Fed had hiked interest rates by 75 basis points, the biggest hike in 28 years, in a move to cap this flying inflation. So, to what extent are the Indian markets pricing in this steep hike? Should you brace for another sell-off around the event? Remember, rising inflation and steep rate hikes amid geopolitical concerns have already dented market sentiment across the globe. The S&P 500 is down over 20% year to date. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Nasdaq too have slipped 13% and 28% respectively during this period. Back home, the S&P BSE Sensex and the Nifty 50 have dropped around 6% each. Now let's hear what Devang Mehta, Head Equity Advisory, Centrum Wealth, has to say.
The 9.1% inflation print which came in US last week had a probability to sort of rattle the markets because the participants could have anyways thought about a 75 bips to 100 bips rate hike. The consensus there was around 8.8 and 9.1 was certainly a 4-decade high. Unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures. So probably right now markets are factoring in a 75 bips rate hike and even a certain quarter of the market talking about 100 bips of a rate hike. Certainly, yes, probably once the rate hike is done or around the policy, there would be some bit of volatility. I think markets have been matured enough to again record that inflation and interest rates are going to go upwards from here. But also a certain forecast and the US yields, it shows that somewhere in March 2023, there would be also probability of rate cuts. So I think one thing is good that the slow poison which is there in the system is now getting sort of accelerated, and rate hikes, if it is done earlier, probably it has a little bit of teeth to curb inflation. So that is on the US markets. On the Indian market front, we feel that somewhere around 15,500, 15,800, there is a good valuation support, and nowhere I'm talking about any technical support. Why I say this? Because if you factor in a FY24 EPS of say 1,000 rupees on Nifty, I think somewhere around 15.5, 15.8 is right now the valuation zone, which is very supportive because 16.5 is the long-term average, and we are somewhere below the long-term average in terms of the PE ratio. Also on a price to book value or market cap to GDP, also we are somewhere close to the fair value zone. So somehow we are in an attractive value zone where we feel a lot of participants and a lot of interest is sort of generated in the investing community. Yes, volatility will be the only constant, but one factor which I find positive in July is that the FII selling has come down. So again, we advise the investors to probably pick up good businesses.
So over the next couple of days, the markets will digest the US Fed action, react to June quarter results of India Inc. and remain choppy ahead of the expiry of futures and contracts for the July series.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
अब क्या किया?
शेयर्स में ट्रेडिंग।
तुम्हें 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
ओए, अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा पर मिलते हैं रिसर्च टूल्स, पोर्टफोलियो एनालिटिक्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज भी। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.